Welcome, Warhammer fans, to the 100th edition of the Andy and Remington Steel Show. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show, back on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and the Remington Steel Show for your home delight. Now we're talking about Age of Sigmar and everything else that is cool. It's 100th episode and Remington doesn't know the rules. And almost, hey, it's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night.
It is a Tuesday night, and it is episode 100. It's finally here. Could you imagine that when we started this little production that we would go to 100 episodes, Mr. Remington?
I never realised. I never thought it. No, I didn't. It's been quite a ride.
It was quite, shall we say, off the cuff when we actually started the show in the first place, just to jump on all those rumours as Age of Sigmar was first either leaked or announced, intentionally leaked perhaps, and we were the first on the scene, and 100 episodes later, here we are.
100 episodes, man, and each episode lasting at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes even more. So, yeah, that's 200 hours of Age of Sigmar content.
And dare I say it, each one more thrilling than the last.
And we've been pioneers, Andy. We've been pioneers of what the hell is that, which is something, if I don't mind saying, is something I come up with. And that's now been taken on by GW, hasn't it? With their, what do they call it?
I can't even remember what they call it now. Like, what am I looking at or something?
Yeah, it's some sort of reveal. Well, that was all started by me and Andy. What else have we innovated?
I mean, other than all your revolutionary painting techniques that were invented years after they first came to the market?
Don't get me started with that, Andy. We've had $1 million ideas in the hobby market, making millionaires out of you, the viewers, the fans, and there's many more to come.
Well, speaking of fans, there's a party atmosphere going on in the chat at the moment, so let's see who's in there, shall we? Commented in the last few minutes, the likes of Andreas Goodmanson, Bazooka J. Rambo, Graham Rigg, Jones Ziani, Mark Harvey, Mickey Jenver, Neil Parks, Nick Trajano, Stu Gibson, and Stu Rat. So double stewage in there at the moment. And it's only going to get tastier as the night goes on, I imagine, and word spreads around, because I think people have got out of the habit of tuning in every Tuesday night for this show.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, Andy, I don't know if anyone's... Well, you must have noticed the flag behind you. It's quite a new team, I hear. They're from Dubai, but they're also bought some of Manchester. They've called themselves Manchester City, and they've bought the Premier League title.
Well, that's what you might say. But for those of us that have been supporting for many, many, many years through the lower divisions, then I think we can accept that this is just a bit of a bonus, all this that's happened over the last decade, because we'd signed up pretty much for having mediocrity for the rest of our lives in terms of sports support, much like you had probably done as well, until a couple of years ago when everything changed drastically.
So who would have thought in the 4 years we've been running this show that both our football teams would be Premier League champions in that time? What would the odds be of that?
Well, if you want to go back in time and put a bet on it, I think you would be quite a rich man right now.
You would. And how far has this game come? Whether there's been like a tidal wave of new stuff, new rumors, new releases, new battle tomes, and Age of Sigmar version 2. I was kind of hoping they'd call it a different name. So you got like Age of Sigmar, that's done, and then you can have like Age of
Gerald, Sigmar's cousin.
Age of Nagash or something like that. But it seems that we'll never lose the Stormcast Sigmar thing.
We will definitely never lose the Stormcast. They're getting new stuff all the time, and we've got some of that to look at as well shortly. But of course, this entire edition, I believe we kind of, I don't think it's a stretch to say that we somewhat lost our way along that time and kind of lost the spark that we had for Age of Sigmar, which is why the shows became more infrequent. And when there's so much stuff coming out all the time and the rules are constantly being tweaked, you're just bombarded with all these different new models and publications and rules and war scrolls every week, that if you lose the motivation for even a short amount of time, you fall behind. And it's very, very difficult to climb back on board. So perhaps with the new edition, that would be the perfect time to try and get back up to speed with everything. And actually, I don't even know what is in the AOS meta at the moment. I don't know what the hot builds are. Do you?
No, is it Vanguard Wing or something like that? That's probably old hat already. I mean, it's moving really fast. We were doing a show every week, and we were on top of it and playing, games now and then. Of course, painting armies as well and living normal lives. But we had to just make it a bit less frequent. But now maybe we can step back up with the content. I mean, I've gone through various jobs in normal life. It's been quite a stressful change for me. But and I've been painting like a demon, not a golden demon, but a greater demon.
A greater demon.
So much so that as you may be aware, I made a vow in January that I would finish painting every army that I've owned, and I'm well on track to do that. And I've been selling them, sort of clearing the decks to make way for new stuff.
Well, I hope you're not selling all of them, because if we're going to be getting back in when version 2 hits, and maybe even before that, then we are going to have to get some games in. Regular games, I would say, we need just to stay on top of it.
We've got so many armies between us. We could definitely do, a Warhammer Legends battle with a legend army. For example, my Dark Elves against perhaps your Caradron Overlords, one of the new armies. There's so many possibilities. I've got the Savage Orcs, I've got my old school dwarves, I've got Daughters of Cain, I've got Devoted of Sigmar, I've got my Ogres, I've got Orcs and Goblins, Night Goblins. I've got models coming out my ears. So, plus some of the new stuff, which I'm very tempted, got to say.
It will be interesting to see you get maybe a full army of new stuff. Maybe an army of new stuff that links in with the old, like, for example, the Snake People. Because you've already got quite a lot of compatible models for that range, haven't you?
You've got to take into account, we've both got like quite high standards for painting, and it does take a long time, especially when you've got lots of random figures and your head is easily turned with new things like a kid in a sweet shop. It's important for me to actually just finish projects off, and in doing that, I sort of fell behind with what was actually going on in the wargaming world. But that's you got to forgive me for that. It's not good to just hoard stuff all your life. It's good for it to actually be alive and useful. So that's been my vow, and I think I'm sticking to it pretty well.
If we manage to start getting games in regularly, perhaps we'll be able to up the show output to once every 2 weeks again and take it from there, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because it was a struggle to find things to talk about when we weren't on top of everything for a long period of time. Because there was a span of a couple of months where we kind of just had to fill in without really knowing what was going on, I would say. And I'm sure nobody saw through it, because we are masters of just making it up as we go along on this show.
Well, the beauty of having not much news is that you start inventing things for yourself. And towards the back of 8th edition, there was a couple of years where nothing much was going on. And in that time, I built a whole halfling army. I got really into much more of the narrative and looking back at the old books. And it was quite a nice time in a way. You sort of become more creative. But now, because there's so much new stuff coming out, it's... I think you can actually tend to become less creative with the hobby, because GW, after all these years and all the moaning from the old school gamers, they're finally on top of everything, aren't they? They're engaging with the community, they're listening, we're getting constant engagement through the internet from Games Workshop. It just feels like it's grown a lot, whether they've used the Warhammer 40k template as the calling card. I think that's a big factor, but it seems to have worked. And Warhammer Fest last weekend was a huge success.
Apparently it was, and they were doing a kind of a live blog on the Warhammer community page as well, which is how most of us were keeping up with all the new reveals, which we're going to look at very, very shortly. because there are about a zillion pictures Age of Sigmar related. We can skip past anything that has kind of a futuristic looking gun, because obviously we don't talk about things like that on this show. This is very much fantasy based. So, shall we go for that right now, in fact? Because we have got an awful lot of things to look at here in the world of Age of Sigmar. Let's have a look at what's coming up. So I've started at the bottom of the page here, and the first thing they teased us with was, of course, a Stormcast, and I can see Remington's face light up when he sees that image there.
Well, yeah, I would immediately take off the head and put a bearded, ranting flagellant on top, and there you've got a warrior priest. You know, yeah, nice. I like the fact there's more clothes going on. I mean, how does Stormcast should get a movement penalty for all that armor? Really, they are like Chaos Warriors, but sort of good-ish. But it's interesting they revealed those two, because it's my belief that the new box set, that's heralding Age of Sigmar version 2, will be Nighthaunt versus Stormcast in the box. So maybe we can split that, and in you can have the Stormcast.
That's very possible. You think that we're not going to see Chaos in a box?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's going to be these guys.
It will be truly shocking, but I think you may be right there. So when you first saw this image of a brand new ghost tethered to his ball, how did you feel?
Well, I didn't see this image on its own. I saw them pretty much all at the same time. So I was really impressed. I think these Nighthaunts look wicked. They're look like fairly simple to paint, really characterful, great models, spooky. They go with so much of the scenery that's already out.
This image here would back up your thoughts that it's going to be Stormcast versus their Nighthaunt, because the new edition, it's just got a picture of those two armies facing down. Yeah, and of course, that was when we heard that the new edition was coming with expanded narrative. The narrative being one of the things that people have nitpicked over the years, that it didn't measure up really to the old world. So it sounds like they're going to take some steps to try and remedy that and involve people more in the world, get them more embedded in there, so you feel like you're part of the world. You have more familiarity with it, like you did with the old world. Well,
it's very impressive that the Games Workshop was the sleeping giant of war games for many years, and I think they were a very self-depreciating company. They don't really, well, in the past they were just, I don't know, they didn't really go for it, and now they're really going for it, and they've done so many U-turns over the past 4 years. I mean, for example, when the rules first come out, it was like, well, here are the basic rules. We're just a miniatures company. We're not going to make it competitive. And within sort of a year, that had all changed. Battle tones, more in-depth rules, more magic, command traits for different factions, more factions coming out, getting involved with competitions, having daily, weekly blogs. It's all changed so much, and now it seems they are like the company that everyone wanted them to be, and they're listening, and the narrative is really coming to the fore, because I think you're more interested in that, like me, than in the competitive side of things. But they're on top of both, and they're trying to please the old school war gamers as well in keeping compendium models and rules going. Basically, there used to be Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory locked behind the gates, and suddenly everyone was given a golden ticket and was able to swim in the chocolate river. That's what you're getting at. Yeah, and we're all winning. We are. We're all swimming around, and no one's getting stuck in pipes or turning into blueberries or anything like that. So, cinematic sorcery. This is another thing people criticised with Age of Sigmar. Where's all the magic gone? 8th edition, of course, had a wide-ranging magic system that was very in-depth and was almost like a game in itself. And the amount of spells that you had to keep track of on the table for all your different wizards and the spell effects in play. And, of course, it was heavily simplified with Age of Sigmar down to just a handful of spells. Even with new armies coming out, they didn't add that many. Yeah. Each wizard perhaps will have his own unique spell. But now, cinematic sorcery sounds like they may be going slightly back into that direction, beefing up the magic, now that people have already
bedded in with the rules, they can now start piling on top of that, and the magic system could be a big part of that.
Absolutely, and to signify that, we're going to have spell models, and
Yes,
we'll
that's
look at them in a bit.
interesting.
But that could be really cool.
We're going to get to that as we scroll up. There's some pictures here from Warhammer Fest that we don't need to stare at. And look, there's one of the female Stormcast on that booklet there for Warhammer Fest.
That's brilliant. We want more. We want more females. More females in the hobby, more females models.
We want them mixed in with the male Stormcast units as well, not just individual characters.
We want mixed race models as well. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got that with the Silver Tower in the paint job of the warrior priest. He was a sort of Afro-Caribbean looking guy. So I think it's awesome. More of that.
There's also these videos, which I'm not going to play because it won't work very well on the screen share. But there are videos for the new Stormcast and the Nighthaunts. But we're just going to look at some pictures here. So the spell effects, or the lingering spells, well, you've got balls and they're electric. What do you think about these? I think these are a little bit on the simple side, perhaps.
Yeah, they look like homemade almost, don't they, them?
These do. Some of the others look a bit tastier. Like this one, for example. I like this.
Love it. What a great paint as well. That's, yeah, the Flaming Skull spell, isn't it? That fire wizards can cast. I think that's wonderful.
That looks very much like a Stormcast spellcaster there as well.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean,
definitely lady-shaped.
Stormcast have probably got more models put together than some other factions put together, haven't they? I mean,
if you compare it to the way they release Space Marines for 40k, it's actually quite comparable, because every year there's new things for Space Marines and the other races are forced to wait years. So it looks like they're following that business model.
Yeah, well, you know, they know what they're doing, don't they? It's not so much my thing, but you know, I think that female Stormcast looks wicked. Looks well good. This is wicked as well. Imagine that tearing through the planes.
I certainly can imagine that tearing through ranks of models.
Is that the fist of? It's not the Fist of Gork, is it? What spell was that?
It's some kind of gigantic maw, isn't it?
Right. Okay.
Who knows?
Love it. Do you think they'll come in one box, all these, or do you think they're going to be separate?
I think looking at the size of them, they'll be separate. If you look at the size of this gigantic, spiky purple ball.
That is the purple Son of Xeris. It's flipping massive, isn't it? That is.
It's towering over little Terence the Necromancer there.
If you had to get one of these, which one would it be?
Well, if we look at this one as well, I like this one, actually, with the skulls inside the ball there.
Yeah.
But I think the best one has to be this flaming skull.
Yeah, that's mean.
I do like the big giant open mouth with the teeth as well, though. Those two. I
like that too. You kind of want to be able to use them for other things, though, don't you? Maybe it could be could that be a colossal squid or squig face? Or I don't know.
Well, if you wanted to make a ghost squig, that sounds like it could be a film franchise along the lines of Sharknado. Okay, let's keep scrolling up. Well, look at this. Lots of Nighthaunt against lots of Stormcast. Lots of stuff. There are some old models mixed in there as well. You've got the likes of Nagash.
Yeah, you got the what they called the Mortark, not the Mortarks. The big skeleton guardians in the background on the right.
Yep, and you can see that there's some Vargheists up there as well.
Yeah, it's like a mixed death army.
Let's keep going. Oh, no, there's some 40k stuff. Although Plastic Sisters of Battle, of course, interesting. Something people have wanted for a long time.
Yeah.
But here we go. Here we've got more fantasy goodness. Is this picture going to load? There we go. What do you think of these?
I think this is a dual kit. Because, I might be wrong, but I've seen some other ones that look more human-y. I mean, these lizards...
Are you talking about them?
Yeah. I could be wrong.
Well, let's look at the exact cloakage and see if it's the same. It could very well be a dual kit, that. all you would do is stick a different head inside it, and the weapons are at slightly different angles. But it could definitely be a dual kit there.
Now, do you think these are wraiths, or do you think they're not as good as wraith? Because the wraith was like a hero, isn't it?
Wraiths were kind of in a weird position back in 8th edition, weren't they? Because there were quite a few different models that were kind of somewhere in between. You had the likes of banshees that you could stick in with your units.
Yeah, they weren't. You wouldn't call them game changers, would you? Sort of like supporting heroes, but they weren't.
Yeah, you couldn't. I don't think you could take a full ethereal army, could you?
No.
Often they would just be mixed in with other units, or you would have your spirit hosts as well, which weren't that great, but they were used to block people.
Yeah.
In Age of Sigmar, of course, you've been able to have full ethereal armies if you're not obeying certain optional rules.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a bit of a U-turn because in the past I've said they should make undead models from different races. So you'd have like undead orcs, undead Skaven, and now that they've done the undead Skaven, you're like, they look a bit silly. These guys look amazing. Wow, they look so good. I think I prefer these to the Deep King.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
You sure it's not just shiny syndrome or ghostly syndrome as it might be right now?
It could be, couldn't it? Could be. But yeah, they look absolutely stunning. And like, you know, fairly easy to knock them out with good paint jobs and get going.
It looks like if you're a dry brusher or a washer
Or a sprayer.
Or a sprayer, an airbrusher, any of the quick techniques you'll be able to use on these, definitely. And what about this? New cavalry.
Yeah, that's outstanding. I mean, I love what they've done with the barding. Well, the sort of cloth barding, and you can see like the skeleton ribs underneath. That looks so cool.
That looks very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But I would say it looks halfway between a Hex Wraith and a Black Knight, really, doesn't it? It's like the physical form of the creature is starting to disappear into just ghostliness, isn't it?
Really good. I mean, is that a goat or a ram?
It could well be. It's got the horns that would support that theory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it. So do you think the Mortis engine fits in with this lot?
Very much so.
Uh-huh.
There are elements, though, of the Mortis engine that look slightly more mortal, shall we say, like the guy sitting on it, for instance. And all of these models seem to be entirely ethereal. Like the whole army would just disappear, float into the ground, and then come up again. Whereas the Mortis engine does have that one guy on it who is kind of in control of it.
There's so much variety in this army, isn't there? Is this the Keeper of Locks?
Well, I don't know if that'll be his name exactly. We did see on one of their "What am I looking at?" or whatever they call their "What the hell is that?" ripoff. There was a picture of a key, wasn't there? So I'm assuming that was from this model. And people seem to be loving this guy as well with the noose.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I might, you know, that the free guild guy that's being tied up. I think does he come with the giant kit? Can't remember what kit. No, he comes with the ogre kit. You know, with the big gribbly beast, the mammoth kit. I would like to sort of convert this to have someone actually hanging from the noose.
That would be pretty cool, actually. The one issue I see with this model, where do you think it's going to snap? There, at the axe head, or there, after his hand?
Yeah, it's so good, isn't it? It's so... I mean, that's my favourite one, I think, this model.
It is, but it needs to be stuck somewhere else other than just here, because that is going to break. Surely.
Don't worry about it.
I don't know. I think if you could get maybe the kind of smoky bits here attached to his cloak underneath, just so you have two different points of contact, because I don't think that's going to stand up, especially to, let's say, a Remington transport system. Oh, look.
Boring. Move on.
Yeah, that's their new game by the looks of it, Adeptus Titanicus, with giant titans. Slightly interesting. And what are these? These don't look like fantasy related. Oh, there is some more Blood Bowl stuff, which is vaguely
the Blood Bowl Dark Elves look amazing, and they could easily be converted for fantasy. You got a female ogre, is that? Or is
this here you're talking about? This looks like maybe a troll throwing a goblin who is carrying the ball.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? Have you played the new Blood Bowl? What's it like?
Apparently, it's very similar to the old one, but I haven't played it.
Mm-hmm.
Some models here.
That looks like a war dancer elf, that one. I mean, these are wicked. There you go. That's an assassin, easily usable, I think.
As long as you don't paint lines on their base like that.
Yeah.
There's some more.
Now, I was looking at the guy on the top right and the top left, bottom right. They could be used as beastmasters. You know, just stick a whip in their hand from the Sisters of Slaughter. And the woman on the bottom, she could be a daughter of Cain. No problem.
Definite conversion possibilities here. Okay, past some more stuff that'll bore you. And I believe we're about to see something juicy. Here we go. Right. Presumably this is from Forge World because it's so huge, but look at that.
Yeah, I think I'm right. It's one of the biggest fantasy models they've made at Forge World, and it was designed by, is it her name Trish?
Let's see if it mentions here.
Yeah, wicked model. I mean, that's going to come in at quite a heavy price, I imagine. What?
It will. I mean, if you've seen the price tag on their giant Hobbit dragon.
Yeah. Smaug.
Yep. If you look at the price on that, I don't imagine it would be too far below that looking at the size of it, because it is absolutely gigantic. You can see the size of the bloodbound warrior atop it there. So this is going to be one gigantic chunk of resin.
Yeah. I mean, of course, with AOS, they've got more limited, within each faction, there's not a huge range apart from Stormcast. So if you're a new player, you can pretty quickly get multiple armies going. I think that's part of the logic behind what Games Workshop doing, and for a lot cheaper price as well.
Now, when I look at this, obviously it looks like a lady Stormcast who has some kind of device that is sucking ghosts into it in a very Ghostbusters fashion, I would suggest.
Well, what's the point of the shield, though? She doesn't need a shield, does she, to do that? Just make it work.
Possibly not. Maybe this item here usually just hangs from a belt until there's a ghost prone on the ground.
It's like a soul hoover, isn't it? It's a soul vacuum.
Yeah, but hopefully they put them all in a big backpack and then keep them somewhere safe.
It's a bit sexist, isn't it, getting a woman to do the hoovering like that?
Well, it probably is, but maybe they have a male equivalent of this model as well. You know how they have multiple sculpts of the same character for Stormcast because people just need more of them. And speaking of more Stormcast, well, one thing I've always wanted was some kind of Stormcast artillery piece, and my dreams have been answered because look at this.
It looks like a bloody machine gun turret thing, doesn't it? That's not fair.
It definitely does. I can just imagine your legions of goblins running into this and being mown down.
Savage Orcs get like wooden spears, flint and wooden spears, and bows and arrows. Stormcast get laser guided machine gun things. I don't know.
I don't see the problem.
I mean, there's not even any chance of a misfire anymore. What do you mean you don't see a problem? That's futuristic stuff there. I mean,
no, it's not. It's just like a couple of bows strapped together. Come on.
Totally impractical.
Apparently they fire lightning.
They're wearing full body armor as well. I mean, there's no ammunition in sight.
Well, there kind of is. He's putting in the ammunition fantasy style lightning clip there, I think.
Fantasy style, yeah, right. I mean, look, the models there, they're wicked, and the guy on the top right, he looks pretty tasty too. I can't quite see him at the minute. I don't know.
Yeah, zoomed in a bit too far there, but you can see him a bit more there. We've got these as well, because of course they needed more ranged units.
Well, you need grenade launchers, I guess, now, don't you?
Yeah, these are very clearly fantasy grenade launchers, though.
I mean, yeah. So this is what are they called? The Sacratarium or something? Sacrosanct.
The Sacrosanct Chamber.
So it's like the Holy Order of
The Holy Hand Grenade, there you go.
Yeah.
Not necessarily hand grenade. The Holy Hand Grenade launcher there. How about that?
They're like bombardier.
And they've got a lot of this kind of holy danglage going on around them, haven't they? So they do look a bit more priestly than some of the others.
Yeah, I like that vibe.
And especially, like you said, if you give them just the big bearded heads, the ones that aren't... I think this one's, from the body shape, that one looks a bit more feminine, doesn't it, than the others?
They're like Stormcast nuns. Aren't they?
There is an element of that. And these look like your wizard types, don't they?
Yeah.
Very wizardly.
I do like Stormcast with swords. They look quite knightly, don't they? Like that.
And then, of course, these they look very much like Stormcast that have just been on some kind of religious weekend and been kitted out and sent back into the field. Or
they're about to play hockey.
Well, yes, maybe that as well.
So there was
the weapons just look ever so slightly more sacred, and they're wearing robes.
Yeah. Did you ever hear that rumor about Bretonians? That they were going to be relaunched as Clockwork Knights?
That would have been interesting. But I hadn't heard that. Oh, and of course, a beast.
Yeah, that's terrific modelling. It's so good.
They do have another beast as well, which was shown in the video. Which I don't think there's a still shot of, but it was like kind of like a
wild cat,
a lightning tiger of some description.
Yeah. So, what do you like them guys? They're gonna.
I think all this new Stormcast stuff looks very interesting, especially the ranged units. I very much like those.
So
I think these look really cool.
You probably get all of these in the box then.
Well, if you got all of these in the box, that would be probably a must-have purchase as far as I'm concerned. And I don't have any beasts like this, and my main concern with these particular models is that there's a lot of skin that doesn't have detail on it. It's just kind of big smooth blocks that you have to paint, kind of using natural shading and whatnot. Whereas I like the actual detail to be there to pick out, because my artistic imagination maybe isn't as great as some. But with this one, I think I could definitely do a good job on this, because there's a lot of coverage which has more texture to it.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't mind painting one of these.
So if you got this bunch and got them painted up as good as your others Stormcast stuff, you'd have a full army, wouldn't you? With a bit of everything.
I would be lacking very little.
You got your big dragon, haven't you?
Yep, I've got.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Got quite a lot. There is some new Lord of the Rings stuff if you wanted to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Very ugly critters.
Here's a question for you. Do you think Games Workshop got a kickback out of Total War Warhammer, the game, because it's been such a massive success?
Probably.
They got a percentage of the rights, or do you think they just...
a percentage? I don't know. I'm sure they probably had some kind of negotiation up front that maybe didn't involve what kind of sales they do in the future, perhaps. Maybe there was a one-time fee involved, who knows?
Yeah, it just seems like they've just relaunched with loads of cash. It's like a big owners come, like a football club. Some big owners come in and just, bought a whole new team.
I've got some pictures here. Let's see if there's any images of staff harassing people. Let's see what's going on in this one. Oh, this picture's not loading.
I can't see many, any orange going on. Can't see you there. I don't think they would have let you in anyway, Andy.
They would have taken me straight to the VIP section, so I wouldn't be in any of these pictures anyway.
Was there an exclusive model for this year?
I don't know because I wasn't there. Anyone that was there, let us know.
What's that? Is that one of the tables where it's like table hockey?
It looks like it with a giant hammer of Sigmar on it.
Right.
And let's see if there's anything else to look at.
Oh, some cool tables there.
Some Stormcast leading a charge into some foul, depraved undead. And anything else that looks remotely fantasy-ish? Aha, yes.
Oh, wow.
So you were immediately struck by this, weren't you? When you heard about this new...
Andy, you've got to press play there. I'm not sure if it worked, but we've got to try it.
It won't work on the live broadcast because it's not set up to, but if people go onto the Warhammer community page at some point and click this here, then you'll hear some legendary tones. And Mr. Remington, I'm sure you have a particular fondness for that voice based on some of your favourite media of the past.
It is Mr. Brian Blessed voicing Gotrek in the new Realmslayer book by David Geimer. It's going to be flipping amazing. If you don't know who Brian Blessed is, it's like, imagine Sigmar himself talking with a giant beard in knight's armor. That's Brian Blessed. He appeared in the classic film, you know, Flash Gordon. Gordon's alive. He's that guy. In fact, looking at those flying male bearded Valkyries from Flash Gordon, they're very similar to the Stormcast wing guys. Yeah, and so Brian Blessed is a legend. So to get him on board is brilliant. He was also in Star Wars. I think, was he in the Clone Wars or the one before it?
I think he's been in everything pretty much.
Yeah.
One of my favourite roles of his was, of course, in Blackadder, the original series. He was pretty crazy in that.
I'm trying to get it up on my phone if I can. Can't find it now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
You know what happens when Mr. Remington tries to share audio clips from the internet on this show?
Well, what happens?
Either it'll be something completely different from what you were hoping to share, or it'll be what you intended and it's heavily copyrighted and the video gets taken down. Only one way to find out.
He who dares wins, that's what I say.
I particularly liked in Blackadder how he never remembered Edmund's name. So whenever he was addressing him, it would always be like, Edith! Edna! Right, there's some more stuff here. Dice. Oh, is it even going to let us look at the pictures of the dice? There we go. Wound counters. Because obviously GW have realised there's a gap in the market that they aren't filling, that other people were filling for them. There were so many different companies out there releasing different wound counters and effects markers and other tokens. And GW thought, wait a minute, why aren't we having a slice of our own pie here instead of letting someone else come in and just take a slice while it's cooling on the windowsill?
I think they're cool. The danger is that you roll dice and it could knock the wound counter.
Yes, that's the one issue I have with like dice-based wound counters rather than the kind of the twisty ones.
It could also be used as turn counters, I suppose, as well. I like it how there's two different colours, like, you know, one for one player, one for the other.
Command and status dice. So depending what they've done, perhaps in that turn, like for example, the foot here that seems to be moving quickly. Maybe that's if they ran extra fast. So
what's on the left, building a fort.
Who knows? Maybe there's a new
shield wall.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe every unit will have the ability to not move and put their defenses up somehow. Who knows? The rules are going to be tweaked, but we're only speculating wildly at this stage. And scenery dice.
Okay, you got to know what those images mean.
Yeah, so you'll remember which result is represented by which symbol.
I think that 3 means it's twilight, it's getting dark, let's have a drink. Or something to eat. Maybe. and the other one is the sun's out, let's carry on playing.
Yes.
Is that new?
Are these the same Azerite ruins, or are these different ones?
No, I love those images though. It's almost like old Egyptian ones where they're sort of telling you a story. There was once a guy with a big hammer sat on the throne.
I don't think it's that literal.
Oh. Yeah, I've missed you, Andy. I've missed your enthusiasm.
My enthusiasm for these objective markers, though, is off the charts. I mean, look, it's a statue's head with an axe embedded in it.
Yeah, I love it. I love that tomb, the tomb of an old Bretonian knight. A pile of Sigmar weapons. We've got...
What about this evil, cursed, possessed rock with tormented spirits in it that's held to the ground by chains?
Yeah, warpstone. I like them. They're pretty cool, man. You could use them as basing as well, couldn't you, all that stuff?
It may be too expensive for that, but maybe. I do like this, though. You could base a scenario around this. Someone has to remove the magic axe from the statue's head in a kind of sword in the stone style.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll have little actual game scenarios based around each one of those counters. You know, a bit of fluff behind it.
New paints.
Yeah.
Nighthaunt Gloom and Hexwraith Flame, both technical. So Hexwraith Flame looks very, very liquidy. So whether you would just put that directly over what colour, I don't know.
On white, right? Stick it on white.
I don't know. I suppose we're going to have to wait for Duncan or one of Duncan's pals to show us exactly how to do that.
I think they're pretty cool, man. So I'll be getting them if I get any of those ghosts.
Then we've got more pictures of people having an awful lot of fun, people who won tournaments and so on.
So he won the golden sword, this guy, as well.
Let's have a look at the sword. There we go.
He did.
Mr. Sword winner there.
There's an actual real sword. Do you get like the gauntlet with it too?
I assume so, because otherwise how would you hold it there? Unless he brought that with him because he knew he was going to win. Because he's that damn good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Is this the winning entry here? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's wicked, isn't it?
I mean, the closer you look at it, the more you think, how long would it take to pick out all those tiny little variations in colour on every piece of the miniature? And you just think, someone, to win this nowadays, you have to be an absolute master in addition to putting in untold hours. So if you're not partway there already, you're probably not going to win. Unless you're an absolute painting prodigy and you suddenly pick it up and find you're amazing after a short amount of time. But there aren't many of those out there.
Yeah, a lot of extra bits been put onto that, isn't there?
I don't remember this thing dangling off him before. But
Yeah, that's from the giant kit, I think. Or is it from the woods kit? Either one. I've got one of them as well. Not painted that nice though.
Jonesy says the flame is a glaze. So, X-Wraith Flame, a glaze apparently. And I'm quite a big fan of glazes, but I don't necessarily use them in the way you're supposed to. I've often just used them as washes. I don't know whether that's correct though.
My eyes often glaze over.
Well, usually when we get onto War Scrolls, they do.
Yeah. I should make that a product, really, shouldn't I? Remington's Tears.
Tears of Remington. Well, did you shed any tears when you saw this?
I mean, this is phenomenal. I love it. I love that. Look at that. Look at that ghost lady of the lake at the top. You could definitely use her in a knightly army, couldn't you? In a good army, sort of just about to hand the sword over to your champion. But yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal figure. Really, really good.
What you're finding is that some of these miniatures, they're not just sitting there looking at you. They're in the midst of some kind of action. Like you can see this one on the side here holding the book. You can see part of the story in this scene from the tilt of the head and the way the hand's reaching in there. you get a sense that they're all doing something. And that's what's possible with this kind of new sculpting, isn't it? You can twist things around in all kinds of different ways, and it's not going to affect whether you can actually create the miniature or not. If you look at models from the old days, they all kind of look very flat with their arms out to the side. You had to rely a lot more on facial expressions rather than body language. Whereas now...
Yeah, I think this black coach business, I mean, what does it actually do? Does it just sort of terrify you? Because it's got... How does it hurt you?
Maybe it just rides past you, and then you're forced to take off your hat, which is a protective helmet, and then someone can hit you on the head.
I mean, it doesn't... You can't see it shooting anything out of it. I mean, there's no... Do you think there's... Maybe the vampire should burst out of its coffin? That could be a good model, couldn't it? Just bursting out. It doesn't do that. Or does it wait to park?
Maybe you have to find a parking space first.
Well, that's going to be quite difficult in the mortal realms because a lot of it's in ruins. So it's probably just as well that it flies, but...
There could be lots of parking, though, if it's all ruined.
Yeah, well, if you're thinking of coming to Leicester, where I live, you better be careful. There's a lot of parking officers everywhere these days.
Are any of them brave enough to go after a black coach like this?
That's what we need, isn't it? We need a real-life black coach riding through the cities of England, terrifying the parking officers, traffic wardens.
Well, I'm sure you'd get elected if that was one of your policies.
I'd have you driving it. Be perfect. Even that, you'd be driving that plague cart. What's that called?
Oh, the corpse cart.
Yeah, the corpse cart. You'd be fantastic at that.
Bring out your dead. Right, new edition. There's some info on the new edition here. So let's have a look at what it says and get more images of the ghosts versus the golden warriors. So you won't have to wait long. It'll be here in June, which is not very far away at all. They're expanding the narrative, and they've got maps, lots and lots of maps now, which is the first step, isn't it, really? Because when you thought of a Warhammer Fantasy race from the old editions, you could immediately picture in your head where in the map their domain is, couldn't you? If someone says Bretonia, you immediately think of their lands and where they fall on the map.
Yeah, you can't do that now. Well, not yet.
Well, maybe you can once people wrap their eyeballs around this.
Capillaria, the Ocean of Tears,
Cool's Ravage,
the Ocean of Swords, the Vitriol Sea,
Vitrolia,
Vanks,
Flame Scar Plateau. I'm pretty sure the Ocean of Tears was formed when they actually released Age of Sigmar in the first place. Okay, working our way down. So, new lore with the map. Refined gameplay. So the one thing that was mentioned in the video was that you can't shoot out of combat anymore.
And you can't shoot in combat. Can't shoot into combat. You can't shoot out of combat.
I don't know if I heard anything about not shooting into combat, but you definitely can't shoot out of combat anymore.
I think that's good. That's right, though, isn't it? Because if someone's attacking you with a sword, you can't just say, hold on a minute, I'm just going to shoot someone on the other side of the board, and then you can carry on.
It didn't make too much sense. So I'm glad that that has been altered.
It's going to protect your things that are in combat, isn't it? And you're going to want to sort of rush with your skirmishers the shooting elements of an army, and they're going to be a lot safer, because you think if a normal combat troop is charging into a missile unit, missile unit's going to have its hand-to-hand combat, and it's going to have its shooting attack, so it's kind of not fair.
They have also said that the rules are going to be cleaner, basically, and they've taken a lot of feedback on board from the community, apparently.
So do you think we're going to get a new rules book?
Yes.
Sort of rules book / law / compendium.
Word on the street is that the rule book is going to be longer than 4 pages now. But it is going to be a brand new rule book.
So do you think it will be like the books of old, or do you think it will come in the new box?
I think it'll come in the new box, and the basic rules will be free online as well.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And they're going to be answering questions about it soon as well.
Yeah, a lot of FAQs. So I think they must. Plus, you've got a new General's Handbook, right?
I have no idea. Presumably, there'll be a new one every year still.
Right.
Raphael March says, I think models might be able to shoot in the same combat they are in. Which does make a bit more sense. If someone's fighting you, you might just be able to shoot them in the face, but you wouldn't be able to ask them to just move out the way a bit so you can aim across the battlefield, like you said. So shooting out of combat didn't make any sense.
Well, I think if you shoot into a combat, if you're not in combat and you shoot someone who's in combat, there should be some kind of
risk of hitting your own troops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, right, we're on to new release now. And this page is deciding to load up. There we go. So I should point out to people, by the way, that the next couple of episodes of this show, the 101st episode, because it's going to be prior to the new edition dropping, hopefully, we're going to have kind of a retrospective look back at the edition 1 and the history of this show. So we're hoping that we could get a couple of guests on that show as well. Some people from the past, hopefully. And for episode 102, we hopefully, if it's all out there, we'll be looking at the changes in the new edition and what you get in the new box. So you should be very excited for that. Right, let's have a look at this. I'm surprised this is only £70. I thought it was going to be slightly more than that, didn't you? I thought it was going to be more Star Drake kind of price, which is more in the 90 to 95 bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'll be getting this army. There are a few models in there that I think are really amazing. But, yeah, I don't think they're for me at this moment in time. I think they're not. But, I mean, look, these guys look awesome.
They are very, very cool indeed.
They are like Atlanteans, aren't they?
Shells all over the place. Some people actually dislike part of this model. Let's see if we've got a 360 view here. Okay, we have. Let's have a look. Some people were suggesting that the shell being split, you can see it's in two pieces, the shell, can't you? Right. There's a gap there. And some people don't like that. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah. You could put seaweed in it.
That's your answer to everything.
I bought some seaweed today from a Korean shop. Dried. You could use it for scenery. That's another $1 million idea. There you go. Free. Free on this show.
Well, there you go. Buy some seaweed, use it as scenery, or just go out and collect seaweed and use it as scenery. If your table starts to stink, then you can blame Mr. Remington, or perhaps you could just counteract it by basing your miniatures with potpourri.
It worked.
Okay.
Yeah, I went through a phase of actually just collecting dead leaves and dead twigs for scenery. Moss, real moss and stuff. It looked brilliant, and then it sort of all lost its colour a bit and got really dry.
Yeah, a lot of your bases don't stand the test of time, do they?
No, I think I'm going to just do a set of bases that are just, you know, just basic paint, I think, rather than live culture.
Right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to give people a couple of minutes warning here because we are going to do a special 100th episode edition of What the Hell Is That? So that gives Mr. Remington time to think about the theme song, but also while people are getting their brains in gear and mentally preparing themselves for that challenge of figuring out what the hell is that, then what have we been working on these last couple of weeks? I can tell you what I'm doing at the moment. I'm actually working on this halfling who is riding on a dragon. Let's get it right in there so it'll focus on him. There we go.
I've got that model, Andy. That's Reaper Miniatures, isn't it?
It certainly is. I'm using this for my Kings of War army. This is also going to be painted as a ghost, by the way.
Yeah.
And do you know what else I bought?
No.
I also bought, thinking it was this huge thing, Scuttlebones the crab, also from Reaper, and it's actually tiny. I thought it was this gigantic beast that I could use as some huge hulking undead monster, but it's.
Are you going to write a letter of complaint?
Well, I don't think I can really, because technically they do have the little notches on the picture showing you how many inches tall it is. But for some reason, the pictures I saw made it look like this gigantic monstrosity. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it now. I'll find a use for it, I'm sure, but not as originally intended.
Did you actually buy it?
I do buy things from time to time, you know. From big companies, anyway. Okay, are you ready, folks? It's time for What the Hell Is That? Whoever names the miniature depicted in this picture, and I'm going to tell you right now, all you're going to see is a nose. The first person to identify the nose will win a prize that at the moment is undetermined. Because often, when we declare that there's a prize available, it'll be something, and the winner of that particular prize won't be interested in it. So maybe that would put people off even trying to win the competition in the first place. So it will determine the prize at a later date based on the particular interests of the winner. So, would you like to give us the music?
What the hell is that? 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 Is it a vampire bat or a big black cat? Only Andy and Remington know.
Right, what the hell is that? Or more accurately, what the nose is that, folks? Get in the chat right now. Let us know what that nose is from. It is a nose from the Age of Sigmar range. I can tell you that right now. We have our first guess. Raphael Marge says is a Stormcast nose. You would have to be much more specific there, I'm afraid, because there are several Stormcast models that have noses. So if you believe it to be a Stormcast, we need more info.
Are you tricking us, Andy? Maybe is it a goblin nose? But you've painted it in flesh?
I have not changed the colour. All I've done is chopped around it and then zoomed in.
Well, I've got my suspicions of what that is, but I won't reveal it.
Demon underscore says it is the White Dwarf. No, it is not.
Mickey Genver says, is that Remington's nose? Oh, for one, it's too small. And two, it's a bit, yeah, it looks like it should be surrounded by hair, really. So I can see what you're saying.
Not quite the right shape. Ms. Gnosis says ogre. Zuki Rambo says Fire Slayer, which, as we established, wouldn't be enough information.
Is it Thorgrim Grudgebearer's nose?
Are you trying to win the prize now? It is not, though.
Oh.
Okay, folks, I'll give you a clue. It is a fairly recently released miniature. Surely that's enough of a clue for people to get it. If no one gets it, I'll be very disappointed. Andres Goodmanson says Auric Runesmith. Demon underscore Lizard says Dispossessed Unforged. Nope. Mark Harvey says Lord Ordinator. Nope. Come on, folks. Someone's got to get this. It's a really distinct nose. Bazooka Rambo says Sigmar's nose. Nope.
It's not from Death, is it?
It is not from the Death faction.
Okay.
I can tell you it's in Grand Alliance order.
It's definitely Dwarven.
I can tell you it's not Dwarven.
Oh.
Raphael Marge says Marathi. Jack Ballard says Lutan. Stu Gibson says, is it the Edeneth High King? I think you would need to be more specific there with a name.
Isn't it? I mean, the Merciless from the... Can't remember his name.
Well, you know what? This is going to be dragging on for way too long, so I'm going to give it to Stu Gibson. He's the first person to mention Edeneth. Oh, no. No, I'm not. I don't need to, because Demon underscore Lizard has just got it exactly right. It is Eidolon of Mathcan, or Mathlan.
Wow. Wow, what a great miniature that is.
Yeah, all I was looking for was the word Eidolon, and then that was going to be the winner. So there you go. Demon underscore Lizard has taken it. Look at the magnificence of that nose. And if we zoom in far enough, there you go, look at that. That is definitely the same nose as we're seeing there. This is the kind of quality entertainment that put this show on the map, isn't it?
I'm glad you bloody put the Facebook page on public view so people can actually join it now.
Yeah, you were demanding that for quite a while, weren't you? So you could share posts from the group.
Yeah.
For public consumption. And hopefully that'll boost the audience significantly. People will actually be able to browse the various posts now before joining the group, which is handy. Anyone who's watching this who's not a member of the Andy and Rome Show Facebook group, by the way, should be over there furiously clicking join. And then I'll go through the process of screening you to make sure that you're the kind of person we want in there and not just the riffraff, as it were. Okay. So before the final piece of business is going to be looking at painted miniatures that have been posted in the group and the ones that Mr. Remington just sent me images of 2 minutes before we go on the air. And I hastily have to add them to the lineup. So before we do that, Mr. Remington.
Yes, sir.
It's episode 100.
Yeah.
What is your overriding memory from this journey so far?
Ooh. Oh, I've got so many. I just love the goofiness we've done, the goofy games we've done, the Forest of Rem.
I think the Forest of Rem is definitely one of my highlights.
That was amazing. What else? What about you?
Other than the Forest of Rem and pioneering such things as What the Hell Is That?
Yeah.
Obviously having all the guests on, some of which have been propelled into international superstardom as a result of being on this show.
Yeah. Like who, for example?
Well, I don't think we need to name anyone in particular, but I think everyone knows who we're talking about. One person who the exposure from being on this show propelled her into the stratosphere to become a professional GW employee.
Yeah. Yeah. We truly make Warhammer legends on this show. Can't forget all the $1 million ideas that have been generated from this show's inspiration. And if you scroll down, probably a long way now, on the Andy and Rem Facebook page, you'll see examples of such things. Yeah, just some wicked stuff. We've had What's Your Nerd Confession?
Which is an ever popular segment in the Remington household, at least. It's a favourite of Mr. Rem, but I'm not sure the public have really taken to it in the way that he would have liked. It doesn't necessarily get the response that he's hoping for.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, all the time we just haven't done it for a while. You know? I mean, I've just found, here's my nerd confession. All right, if you want a quick one. I've just found out if you put your paintbrush in your mouth, which I've been doing for years, to get the nice pointy end, the enzymes in your saliva deteriorate the brush hairs.
You've just discovered that, have you?
Yes.
Did you find that your brush hairs were deteriorating over time as a result of your enzymes, and that's how you discovered it, or did you just read it online somewhere?
What I'm finding is I've got rid of the forked brush issue with some brush cleaner, this stuff here. Yeah.
I've got some brush soap as well here. It's a big old bar of soap, basically.
All right. Well, that's been all right. But what happens is the actual pointiness of the brush has been deteriorating into a flat square. And that's been really annoying. So when I'm doing the fine detail, I'm really disabled in that sense. That's been quite annoying. So, you know, I want a stable, sable, pointy brush for Christmas. Please.
Well, there you go, folks. If anyone wants to send Mr. Remington a very expensive brush that he definitely won't ruin.
I've got a birthday in 2 weeks, so there you go, Andy. Thank you.
I thought you wanted those halflings.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Don't forget those, man. Always wanted them.
Apparently, Bazooka J. Rambo has saved the playlist of the Forest of Rem because it's a classic.
Yeah, you can see the entire thing on YouTube. If you're wondering what we're talking about, it's basically a fantasy narrative adventure starring me and with the games master as Andy. And we have lots of special guests and lots of adventures. And I become a champion of chaos.
Yeah, if you type in Forest of Rem, then you find the video that contains all the pieces spliced together from the different shows, because it went on for a few months, didn't it?
Yeah, of course. Can't forget Witch Coven. That was phenomenal. You know, that went. In fact, I had to stop talking about that because I had so much interest in it. I had to sell the rights to it. So you might see that come out soon-ish.
We'll see about that. Now, speaking of things that you've been selling,
Yeah,
things that you may sell in the future, I'm assuming these ones aren't on your list to sell.
not yet. No, that's. So I've took out what was in my Dark Elf army and adding in what I've recently painted. I've got five of the Harpy Witch Elves. Whether I choose Harpoons or Scythes, I don't know. But I've got them to paint up and add. I've got 30 of the old style Witch Elves that I could add. I've got to rebase all these to make them round bases.
Is this almighty statue here levitating?
I was unsure whether to stick it, what size base to put him on for starters. And then secondly, if I did that, then I wouldn't be able to put him on the cauldron anymore.
So what has he done? Is he mounted to the base with some kind of rod attached to his buttocks?
So he's just flat at the minute. I don't know what to do with him.
It looks like he's floating, though.
Yeah.
Is it an optical illusion, then?
It's an optical illusion, yeah. So I guess this lot are sort of halfway there for me. I want to get some Sisters of Slaughter. I don't think I'm going to get the Big Morathi. Yeah. Loads more witches, and I think I'm about done with them lot.
Now, there's another Remington masterpiece here as well. It looks like you haven't finished basing these ones at the front, but...
No, I just literally finished painting them last week. I've done the command group a while back, and then I've got 15 more Longbeards to paint. So I just this year I've gotten really fast at painting whole regiments, whereas in the past I used to do like individual models, and then I'd do a different regiment model, whatnot. And this time I pack away all my miniatures, and I just leave out the ones I'm gonna paint.
I mean, that's the best way to do it, because when those models are staring at you, it just saps the motivation, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this is probably going to end up as two factions. I've got one which is going to be like a Citadel / Marauder Dwarf army, square bases, all the old school gnome-like caricature models, Bugmans, Dwarves at the back. You've got like a flame cannon. I've got the Goblobber, which you can't see there. I've got... Troll Slayers at the back, and then I've got the new faction led by Thorgrim. I've got a Runesmith. I've got 15 Hammerers that I'm painting right now, and they're going to be my new lot on round bases. Runic round bases is what I'm going to go for. So yeah, I don't know. I can't bring myself to sell this lot. I don't think I'll do that.
How could you sell a dwarf army? That would be sacrilege.
You would. And then I've got some, I don't know if you've loaded up yet, the ones on the left, seen them. That's my Mickey Genva regiment of cyborg miniatures. They're going to be my iron breakers, those ladies, or the ball breakers, I like to call them.
Some miners over there as well.
Yeah.
And now, from the community, now this is posted by Brand. There are some other angles on this as well in the Facebook group, but this is clearly a knight who is standing triumphantly over this wounded orc by the looks of things.
That's wicked, isn't it? That's proper. I think that's a free guild general conversion.
It's very, very, very colourful indeed, and it reminds me of the kind of crazy colour schemes that people would use when they were painting Bretonnian armies with all the knights in different heraldry. And just very nice creativity here with the colours.
Yeah.
Very tasty indeed. I like the feathers as well. This is from Andrew, which is, of course, an excellent name. And this is the new boat, the new sunken ruined ship that you can have in two halves, or you can have it in one, like this one.
This is Andrew Arrow, but this is phenomenal. What a great paint job.
Yeah, and although it's suggested to paint it as kind of a ghost ship, this has obviously just been painted as a sunken wreck.
I prefer it like this. This is the next thing I'm going to buy, actually, because I can it just looked great on the table. You could stick it with the Free Guild army. You could stick it with Dark Elf raiding army. Like I said before, it would be nice if you could have a different statue. So you got Sigmar there. It'd be good if you could have like, well, I suppose you could convert, couldn't you? You could put a dragon head on it or something.
I'm sure you could. It wouldn't be too difficult. But he's got a few of the fish on here as well. Again, there are some other angles in the Facebook group.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Great job, that is.
This is from another Andrew, different Andrew.
Yeah.
And look at that sneaky goodness. Yeah. Very sneaky indeed.
Yes, there's going to be rule changes as well, I believe, and Forge World rule changes, which is it's going to break my heart if the squid gobber goes back to being crap again.
That would be pretty hilarious.
I mean, I wanted to have a go on it with the good rules.
Well, maybe we can do that very soon. Now, you're the resident Dark Elf expert here. What do you think of this? It looks like there's blood splatter all over this thing.
Yeah, well, what's the impression is? It's almost exactly like I painted my Medusa. In fact, when I first saw his picture, I'm thinking, has he been raiding Ren's cabinet?
And has he?
Well, I shall get it out. You can see. All right, check this out. If you can just get the camera on me a sec.
Is it exactly the same model? Has he just posted a picture of yours?
I think there could be something in that. Oh, that's too bright. Can you see that?
Yes.
It's exactly the same, isn't it?
I don't know. People decide. Has he just posted a picture of Remington's army?
Yeah.
Passing it off as his own.
Mine's got a little bit more purple in it, but yeah. Hats off to you, sir. That is great.
Remington inspired, perhaps. And this is from Chris, and this is some Deepkin. And we haven't seen a lot of painted Deepkin yet.
Oh.
But these are among the first ones. Wow,
I really like them. They look awesome, man.
There are some close-ups in the Facebook group as well. And the basing here is quite interesting. It's tricky with the cork, knowing exactly how far to have it kind of jutting off the edge of the base, but I don't think any of these go too far. And then you've got that kind of watery goodness around the bottom, which looks...
so dynamic, aren't they, the poses?
They are. The nice pale skin tones going on here as well.
I mean, you know, I'm almost tempted to get some of these, but yeah, they're fantastic. Especially when you see them like that good.
It's really every time we see a picture of a new miniature or something that's painted well, it immediately makes you want to get an army. That probably explains how you ended up with about 13 different ones.
Yeah. Well, I did sell my beastmen. My beastmen are gone.
How are you feeling about that now? Have you had any twinge of regret that your beastmen are no longer going to be able to take to the field of battle?
No, I had some good battles with them. I hardly ever got beat. Had some really good fun with them. Yeah, I took lots of nice photos, but yeah, feel quite good about it. I mean, I used them for like 6 years. So next up on the block, if you're interested, you can look on our Facebook page or my Instagram, which is Remington Warhammer, which is just going crazy at the minute. It's just all my paint jobs or selection. I'm selling my Vampire Count / Death Army. It's a mixture of pretty much the whole range. Apart from there's no Terrorgeist or big Gribbly monster or Mortis engine, but if you want anything else, everything else is in there. So,
if someone would say to you, you're only allowed to keep one army for use in Age of Sigmar games, which one would it have to be? Which one can you see yourself putting out there on the table, taking on my mighty golden Stormcast with?
Well, the thing is, I love my dwarves for nostalgia, but I don't know if I'd enjoy playing them. Playing wise, I love my ogres because I've never been beaten with them.
I love bone splitters.
Yeah, I like my bone splitters, but then I like the Moon Clan army. Yeah, they've got Orcs and Goblins army. I've got too. I need more games. I want to get more games in. That's my next goal. Get regular games in. With my new job coming up, which is going to be based in Nottingham, I'll be going to Warhammer World a lot more.
There are plenty of fans of this show in and around the Nottingham region who will be very eager to take up that challenge and give you some more games.
Yeah. As long as they know the rules.
You will pick up the rules if you're actually playing the game, I think. Because there was a time when I feel like we were totally on top of the rules. And then there weren't enough games being played, and it slowly drifted as time's moved on.
I think what's changed is like all the magic items, all the command traits, faction traits, and it's become much less about the surface. And there's so many finagling things you've got to know about other armies now, as much as your own, to counteract what they can do. So knowledge is power, I guess, you know.
And I think one thing that helped keep up with all that stuff in 8th edition was the fact that there were so many kind of thrilling, entertaining YouTube videos. Battle reports were a fresh, exciting new thing back then. And you don't see too much in the way of that kind of entertainment nowadays, unfortunately. There isn't anything that just grabs you and allows you to absorb the information via entertainment. You don't realize you're learning. So we need more of that out there in the community, don't we?
Dodgy Dave, Dave Dog G, says, I wish to question Andy's dedication to Age of Sigmar. Where are his battle reports?
Well, in order to create battle reports, typically you have to play games. And the last game of Age of Sigmar I played was probably, I would hazard a guess, at 8 months ago. Wow. So we'll have to remedy that soon, though, definitely.
Yeah.
That is on the agenda, though, especially with the new edition coming along. That'll be a great time to jump back in.
Yeah.
And people can look forward to battle reports in the future, I would say. Of course, if they want video battle reports, then people should encourage Mr. Remington to make the trek up here into the game chamber. And speaking of the game chamber, I actually just installed a blind on the window in this attic. So now, it was very hot today, and I didn't even have to have the window open once to avoid dying from heat, because that sunlight is just being trapped and not getting into the room. So I'm not going to die from heat exposure this summer. So that's nice. And with that, I think we have run the world dry for this week. Obviously, there was a lot to sink our teeth into, but we couldn't sink too deep into each thing because we would have been here all night. So, anyone else got any last-minute comments before we wrap this one up? And
I think we'd all like to hear, Andy, 100th anniversary edition of your Banshee Whale.
I don't think we would. I was singing last time.
I think we should, because with celebrating the up-and-coming Nighthaunt release, it would be perfectly apt to have your voice as the soundtrack to that.
I'll tell you what, when the Nighthaunt new army is officially released and available, I will write a full Banshee-like song and perform it on the show. How's that?
Right, fair enough.
I think my musical talent to the ultimate test. But I think for today, we can just rely on the vocal and musical stylings of Mr. Remington to play us out. Stu Rat didn't get any cake yet. Yeah, there was no cake, even though it's the 100th episode. There are going to be guests next time, though, so maybe there will be cake in at least one location. Dave Doge, Andy and Remington, would you ever get into Warhammer 40k? I don't think Remington would. And I already have armies for 40k. If you've been following my channel, you've probably seen battle reports for it in the past. Okay. G3XE says, what up? Well, what's up is that we're about to go off the air, unfortunately.
But what'll happen now is, any comment you write, I will include it in the lyrics to this goodbye song. So that's the rules.
Providing it's not pure filth. Otherwise, I will have to edit it out later.
Yeah, but in general, I would say I will sing exactly what you write, whether it makes sense or it doesn't.
Very well.
So, yeah, thanks for turning up. Thanks for supporting us.
Over the years, to get to 100 episodes, and more to come, definitely. if we're going to get back in the saddle, you can look forward to more juicy, red-hot war scroll analysis, Mr. Remington's favourite. Okay, would you like to play us out?
All right. It's been 4 years and many days since 8th edition went away. Now after all this time, we've got Age of Sigmar 2. And it's pretty cool. We've got lots of new toys to sing about. Andy's nose was it. That's all that's been written so far. And if no one wants to ride anymore, I'll just keep wailing. Fishy elves, cheese. What about an army of cheese painted in orange? I'm not singing Andy is a god, because Nurgle has not been potty trained. Bloody daughters of Cain. Carrot, carrot, cheese, carrot, 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 yeah. Or kiss, bang, bing, bongaloo.
Andy plays that.
Rem